Hey, Kevin here, top 100 financial advisor, two-time author, one-time bestseller, and we are here to talk about the stock market. I want to discuss one of the biggest questions I get all the time. I actually got this on Clubhouse yesterday. Yes, I'm on Clubhouse. Follow me at Building Bread and make sure that you hit the like button and share this too. And if you haven't hit the follow button, you might want to do that as well. But aside from that, the question is, when do you sell? I've been investing for however long. I did well. I didn't do well. Like, when do I need to get rid of this? When do I get to sell it and have fun and take my money and go do stuff with it? There are three ways to answer this question. And so I'm going to break down each of the three, why they may or may not be a fit for you. So the first one is don't sell. That's the first one. And it all depends on what you have. So if you got something terrible, you might want to reconsider that. But if you have a good stock, it's done well. It's up 100% this year. It's up 400% this year. It's up just 40%, and that's fine. The question is like, well, when do I sell? When should I just take my money off the table? When do I reduce my risk? Well, honestly, don't. In some cases, it does not make sense to sell because if it is a good company, why would you get rid of it? And if you are saying like, oh, I just want to take my money off the table, well, it means that you don't actually believe in that company to begin with. That you feel like you need to snatch everything back off the table because you think the company is going to do something risky, which means that you don't really believe in the company to begin with. So that's something that you want to reckon with yourself. But also, you need to understand that you don't want to sell now and just come back and buy it at a higher price later. That doesn't make any sense. If, for example, I owned Disney at one point. Now, Disney looks very good now in 2020 than when it did in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 when I had it. It wasn't all that great. So it doesn't make sense for me to have had it then and then sell it and then come back and buy it when it's at 150, 60, $70, whatever it is. I should have just kept it and just held it and just waited out all that time and I would have been profiting today. So guess what? Lesson learned. Maybe I shouldn't sell a company that's been around for that long and that has that type of quality. But, and we've done it before, there was a good 4 to 5 year gap where Disney did absolutely nothing up until the end of last year. And now it's hitting all-time highs. But guess what? It was a quality company then. It was paying dividends. It wasn't going bankrupt. It wasn't going broke. So me selling didn't do me any good, right? I sold it. I bought it at, I don't know, 80, 95, whatever it is. I sold it. Does it make sense for me to come back now? So, oh, let me go buy it again when it's twice as high. That's just stupid, right? Just wouldn't make much sense. So if it is a quality company and you have faith in it, which I didn't at that time, you just want to hold on to it because if it's continuously paying you, if your last name is Disney or Tesla or whatever, if you were the son or child or whatever of any of these companies or CEOs, you wouldn't get rid of it. This is the family name, the family business, and it's paying you. You don't get rid of stuff that's good. So in most cases, or in some cases rather, it makes sense just to hold on for the long term because when you look into the market, most of us should be long-term investors. And when you do, you want to say, look, I'm looking at this and I want to stay in this, excuse me, 4, 5, 10 years or longer. And until that point comes, ain't no point in getting rid of it. So that's number one. Number two is doing what's called rebalancing. And I think this is probably most appealing to some people because some of us like, look, I made 400%. I don't want to cash this out in 10 years. I want to use some of it now. I want to buy Christmas presents. I want to go on vacation when things are clear to go on vacation, right? You can do that. Everything that you do in the market doesn't always have to be super, super long term. There is a medium space where you can have your long-term money and enjoy the money now. So what I'm going to do very quickly is break this down on a whiteboard. And to do that, I'm going to hit the share screen button. And while I'm doing that, you should be hitting the share button wherever you may be. All right, so there we go. And we are sharing, and there we go. All right, so rebalancing. So at the beginning of the year, and really either annually or every 6 months, whatever works for you, you want to make sure that your stocks are balanced. So for example, let's say I have, and y'all know I can't draw well. I can draw, it just don't look great. All right, so let's say we've got, let's just make this up. So let's say Tesla, let's say AT&T. I'm just whatever comes to mind is that's what's coming up here. I talk about Salesforce a lot. I actually don't own it. I just talk about it a lot just because. And let's say you got Dollar General. All right, so beginning of the year, I've got 4 stocks. You should probably have more than 4. But let's say we got 25% in each of these, right? 25% across the board, that's 100%. My stocks are even. It's in January. Everything is fine. But 6 months later, a year later, when I come back to just reevaluate what's going on, well, guess what happened? In real life, Tesla has shot up to something ridiculous, right? And in real life, AT&T is now terrible. So now AT&T is down here. You got Tesla up here. You've got Salesforce somewhere. Actually, let me keep that green. Somewhere in the middle. And you got Dollar General also somewhere in the middle. Okay. So this is what we have. Now there are 2 ways that I can take my money and go play with it if I chose to. So what I could do is say, look, everything was at 25%. So what I could do is just say, I'm going to sell off these portions here, and either one, and this is if you believe in AT&T, and I don't personally, I don't, but you do what you want to do. You could take this and say, look, I'm gonna put this in AT&T and make all of these even again, and in 2021 things should be better. Or I can say, everything I'm selling back to where I was. Say I had $1,000 in each of them. I'm selling all the way back down to 1,000. I still have it, and hopefully it'll continue to grow. But I am now taking this stuff, and now it's Christmas money. Now it's vacation money. Now it's money to pay off my student loans. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do that. And hopefully you won't have a stock like AT&T that's just falling off the map. But that's one way you could do it too. So this is called rebalancing. So number 1, don't sell. That's option number 1. When do I sell? Sometimes you just don't. If you got something that's that good, you really probably shouldn't sell it because it's going to keep paying you for forever. Number 2, and this is something that's very common, is one of the only times that I sell is when I am just rebalancing and saying, look, I'm taking some off the table to keep everything even, not because I'm afraid, not because I don't, enjoy the company anymore, not because I don't trust the company, but because I didn't want 90% of my portfolio in Tesla. That's a lot. I just wanted 25% or 5%. That's 5% like really the base. I just did 25 because it's just very, very easy numbers. But sometimes you come back and look and like, oh my God, I didn't mean to take that much risk. Let me take a little bit off the table. I can either A, put it in something else, or B, take it and go spend it because I still have it, right? It's not like I'm losing it or just getting rid of it altogether. So that's number 2. Number 3 is when the company either changes or no longer suits your goals. The way I do this is, again, y'all know, every 6 months I come back and reevaluate. We did an entire video on the stocks that I kicked out of my list or kicked out of my portfolio and stocks that I brought in to my portfolio based on what was going on. So for example, if you had AT&T and AT&T was the one that in this case, and actually in real life, it was down like 12%. We say, look, it's at the end of the year. I held it. I did my due diligence. AT&T was supposed to be good. It wasn't. It's time for you to go. Y'all didn't do what you were supposed to do. But you have to have the right expectations and allow time to play its course. Because this year in March, nothing was good. Absolutely nothing was good. Everything was terrible. You let time play out, and now you're like, oh my God, I'm a great investor. Everything's on fire. Anything that I touch becomes gold. Well, that's just because you allow time to happen. Another example from my own experience as well, same thing with Disney. That took 5, almost 6 years, but sometimes you just have to let time play out. So that's why I wait 6 months. That's why I wait a year in some cases. But every 6 months, I come back and say, look, did you hit the goal? Which is better than the S&P 500. If not, then we have to have a conversation. But you want to have a process. What you don't want to do is say, oh my God, it was a bad day. I just happened to check it and it had to go. That's not going to cut it. That's going to make you very emotional. It's going to make you make a lot of mistakes. It's going to cost you a lot of money because you're just jumping in whenever you want to jump in. You want to have a set time, a set schedule, when you're going to go in, when you're going to evaluate, and when you're going to sell. And usually that's when you say, look, they got a new CEO. They didn't do 5G the way I thought they would. The parks are closed. Whatever it is that you want to have, you want to go back and say, look, it's time to let this one go at that point in time. So when do you sell? 3 reasons, 3 ways. Number one, sometimes you just shouldn't sell. If it's good and it's been good, leave it alone. Let it ride. You don't have to sell and you don't have to just enjoy everything right now. If it's a great company, let it be great, leave it alone. That's number one. Number two, and I'm trying to like remember them all in my head without taking notes, which is not the brightest thing in the world. Number two is rebalance, which means I have everything set a certain way. You should always rebalance to manage your risk. So I've got everything balanced. Things are out of whack. I've made way more money than I expected. Great problem to have. So you trim down. You say, look, everybody's back at 20%, 5%, whatever your goal is, and we're taking everything off the top and we're going putting it somewhere else, or we're spending it. Now, if this isn't a retirement account, like just a regular IRA, you don't want to withdraw the money because you're going to get hit with taxes. So you don't want to do that. But so it all depends on what type of account you're in. And then lastly, you can sell, and it makes sense to sell when you get rid of a company that just isn't doing what it's supposed to do. My philosophy in most cases is sell the losers, keep the winners. So most of the times that you see me sell is either I am rebalancing some stuff just a little bit, or I'm just saying, look, you're trash, you gotta go. You didn't do what you're supposed to do over the last 6 months or the last year. So that's how I do it. When I rebalance though, what I try to do is put more money into the one that didn't do as well, or the one that I'm replacing, so I don't have to sell. That's optional. That's totally up to you. All right. So that's it for me. That is how you sell. That is when you sell, and three scenarios that you want to look at to see if you want to do it, how to do it, and should you do it. All right. Make sure you hit the share button. Thank you guys for coming out, and I will see y'all next week.